All right, my name's Tony. I started this channel, the Veteran Project, and basically what we do is I go through and I find veterans that just your average everyday veterans, and that served in any branch of the military, or police or fire. And today I'm going to be interviewing
Margaret.
Today tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mom of two.
Okay.
Been married for 19 years, together for 20 years. And I'm a manager at O'Reilly's Auto Parts. And I used to be a truck driver on the military side and the civilian side.
That's awesome, because I was a civilian. On a civilian side, I was a truck driver. I drove for 15 years. When did you first find out you wanted to go into the military?
I was really young.
How old?
I want to say 5, 6 years old. I was that kid that would see convoys going down the road, and my eyes were like just glued to the window, just by amazement.
Just by the awe of the convoy.
Yep.
What was your favorite branch? Always the United States Army, or did you have first thought of any other branch?
We always played Army.
We always played Army. We played guns, and it was always Army when we were kids. Why did you sign up for the military?
I signed up because I wanted to use it for educational purposes, and I wanted to use it as a career.
The good old GI Bill, who I think everybody had that in their mind when they first started.
Right.
Where did you do basic training at?
Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Fort Sill. Now, did you live in the state of Michigan at that time? Or?
Yeah, I've always been in Michigan.
Okay, so you went to the Detroit MEPS like everybody else.
Yes.
That's awesome. Fort Sill, Oklahoma. What was basic like for you? Was it like a wake-up call?
I would have to say, due to my upbringing, it made it easier. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to have the mental breakdown as much. I knew I was already, disciplined, self-disciplined, and I was good.
So you already had that mindset.
Yeah, you do what you're told and don't ask questions.
Right. Yeah. Basic. When you go to basic, at least my dad prepared me for basic. He was in the military back in the '60s, just before Vietnam, and him and my cousin were both in Vietnam, and he gave me he prepared me for basic training before I went in. Mm-hmm. What MOS did you choose?
I chose 31 Lima, a cable tech installer.
Cable tech installer. Describe that a little bit.
We're nicknamed the Cable Dogs. So we're the ones, telecommunications, running all the cable, going through wherever we have to go through, like drilling and whatever the purpose, and putting outlets, like these outlets here in front of the bar. Like, that's what we did.
So you guys basically installed electrical?
Electrical, radios for telephones, everything.
It's almost like a communications.
It is.
And how long did you serve did you go active duty, or did you go reserve right away?
I was the Army National Guard.
Army National Guard? Mm-hmm. Oh, those guys get called up before the Army Reserve almost all the time.
Yeah, don't listen to the recruiter.
No, don't listen to the recruiter. When did you enter the military? Did you enter before?
I was in high school.
You were in high school?
I was in high school. I was 17 years old.
So you were right out of high school.
Yep.
I waited a few years before I got out of high school, before I joined in the military. Why did you choose that MOS, or was it just something that was just there, it was just something that just...
I chose that MOS due to the fact that I knew that I was going to be staying in Ipsy.
Oh, okay.
That was going to be my duty station right there.
I gotcha. So the work wasn't
too bad. For
its
location, so I knew it was close to home, so I wouldn't have to drive so far. I was only 17.
Now, you had earlier, before we started this video, you had talked that you were deployed to Afghanistan. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Where were you stationed out in Afghanistan?
I was in Bagram, Afghanistan.
The base? Mm-hmm. The one that we handed over just so easily?
Yes.
What were your duties out there at the Bagram Air Base?
I went because I actually have 2 MOSs. Mm-hmm. So I have the 31 Lima and an 88 Mike as a truck driver. 88
Mike, yeah, I was going to say 88 Mike sounds familiar.
Yeah, so with that, for that first deployment back in 2010, I went, even though I was in a transportation unit, I still got called back for my first MOS. So I got this random phone call, and they're like, "Hey, how's deployment sound?" And I was like, "Whoever deploying?" And they're like, "No, you are." And
No.
so that's how it ended up, going down like that. I had a month's notice before I
So
shipped
you
out.
left your unit to go to another unit that you've never been into before.
Yeah.
Man.
And luckily, when I got to my unit that I was deploying with, I ended up seeing like 5 of my signal guys that I already knew from my IPSA unit. So it was a little bit more like
So it was
home.
more comfortable with seeing people that you knew.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what unit was it? What was the name of the unit that you served with? Do you remember?
86 IBCT Mountain Division.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Your rank. What was your rank?
I was a sergeant.
Oh, E5 or
E5.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long did it take? How old were you when you when you got sergeant, the rank of sergeant?
I was deployed in Afghanistan. I want to say 28.
28. So from the time you had entered basic to the time you went to Afghanistan, how was you were stationed in that the communications, or was it the 88 mic?
When I got deployed?
Before you got deployed, between
Oh,
the time you were in basic to the time you were in.
So I was signal, so I was stayed in IPSI.
Okay. So that you stayed there. You didn't move any. You didn't go to any other posts.
Nope.
Prior to that.
Well, I went to other bases for
Other
different
than
trainings.
for AT and stuff like that.
Yeah, so different things, or if they had to send me for extra training for whatever reason.
What was your best time when you were from the time you joined to the time you got out? What was your best encounter while you were in the military?
I would want to say the best encounters was during deployment. Just because, you end up seeing the real true selves of people and realizing they got your six the whole time. Regardless of you got shit, brawling together, but when shit goes down when you get attacked.
You got your back covered.
Yep.
What was the worst time that you encountered in the entire time you were in the military? From basic all the way up till you left.
Leaving my family.
Leaving your family, yeah, that's always a rough one.
Yeah.
I was 20 when I left for basic. I went to work. When I got out of high school, I went to work, and then I didn't have that wasn't really a big deal with me. But I can definitely see where leaving the family, leaving your friends and family, could be kind of tough. Do you have any regrets from joining in the military?
Absolutely not.
No regrets. Almost everybody I've talked to doesn't have any regrets.
Mm-mm.
Where did you do your AIT at?
Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Fort Gordon, where?
Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Fort Gordon, Georgia? I'm not familiar with that post. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
It was a fun experience.
Was it?
Yeah. Because I got to learn my MOS. I realized I didn't read the contract completely when I found out that we were going to be climbing telephone poles.
They
were like, here's a pole orchard. And I'm like, what? Well, one time, it was the one place they called it Ponderosa, and my fat ass is like chicken wings,
Right. Okay.
So, but still, that was one of the things, climbing telephone poles and realizing you have to really take care of your equipment because you're up there relying on your equipment, just leaning back.
All right, outstanding. Okay, I've noticed that you started to get a little emotional and started crying. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. What was it that you started crying? What caused you to start crying when you did this?
Leaving my baby.
How old was your baby when you deployed?
Well, it wasn't baby, but she was 5.
She was 5?
And the big thing they don't really see the female veteran portion. They don't show too much of the moms leaving their kids, their families.
And this was just before you deployed to Afghanistan, is that correct?
Yeah.
So that was, how often did you communicate with your children when you were deployed?
Whenever I could. Between Skype, me getting a Rashawn phone over there, or whenever, oh my goodness, I went to Kyrgyzstan first before I got to Afghanistan, and I spent like $250 on a cell phone and spent money on a card and money for minutes just to hear hi.
Just so that way you could get some sort of communication personally.
Yeah.
Because I know I have never been deployed, but when I was in basic, we had no personal communication.
Yeah.
And for me, mind you, I was 20 years old, and I didn't have a family. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and it was just, I would just call my mom and dad, or a couple of friends and a cousin whenever we got time to call, and we had to wait in line because the whole platoon
Yep.
had like 5 minutes, or I can't remember exactly how much time we had. But
As soon as we connected, we had a script
right.
and click.
Yeah, I can, I like I said, I've never been deployed, so I don't know how that feels being deployed. Mm-hmm. I stayed stateside. I was in during 1990 to 97, during the first Gulf War. So, well, do you have anything else you would like to share?
We could talk a little bit about Bikes and Battle Buddies.
Yeah, if you want to talk about, tell me about Bikes and Battle Buddies.
All right. Well, Bikes and Battle Buddies is a nonprofit organization that we have that veterans, first responders, anyone that supports the military or first responders can ride with us as well. We end up having a Facebook page that you can go on, and you can be added. There's a few questions. That we end up having over 22 rides this coming year coming up. And there's a lot of different events and organizations that we all work together.
That's awesome. So Bikes and Battle Buddies is it's not a motorcycle gang. It's just a
group of people,
of guys that love to ride motorcycles.
Anyone can ride together.
Now, is this a veteran exclusive, or is anybody can ride with?
Anybody can ride as long as you support.
As long as you support veterans.
Veterans or
awesome.
first responders.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you very much.
All
I
right.
appreciate you. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Veteran Project. We're out.
All right, thanks.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry.